The Riverside Gardens event hall was decorated in silver and gold, elegant without being ostentatious. 35 years of marriage deserved a celebration, and my parents had spared no expense for their anniversary party. I arrived at 7, wearing a simple emerald dress that I'd owned for 3 years. My mother took one look at me and sighed. "Oh Maya," she said. "Is that the same dress from Sarah's wedding?" "It is," I confirmed. "It still fits." "Yes, but—" Mom trailed off, her meaning clear. "Other people bought new dresses for special occasions. I wore the same one repeatedly." "You look lovely," Dad said diplomatically, though his eyes said otherwise. Come in. Your aunt and uncle just arrived." The party was in full swing within an hour. Family, friends, Dad's colleagues, Mom's book club. Easily 100 people mingling, drinking champagne, sharing stories about my parents' 3.5 decades together. I stood near the bar, nursing a glass of wine, watching. Paya. My cousin Jessica appeared beside me, all excited energy and designer outfit. "Oh my God, I haven't seen you in forever. How are you?" "I'm good. You?" "Amazing. I just got hired at Dawson & Associates. Junior marketing associate. The salary is decent, but the real value is the experience, you know." She tossed her highlighted hair. "This is the start of everything for me. Congratulations." "Thanks. Oh, and I'm moving to the city next week. So excited. I found this adorable studio downtown, but it's not available until the 1st of next month, so I need somewhere to crash for like 3 weeks." She said it casually, like it was no big deal. "That's a tough gap," I said neutrally. "I know, right?" Mom suggested I ask around. "Do you know anyone with extra space?" She looked at me expectantly. "I might," I said carefully. "Perfect. I knew you'd help. You're always so resourceful." Jessica spotted someone across the room. "Oh, there's Aunt Linda. I have to say hi. Talk later." She flounced off, leaving me with a sinking feeling about where this was heading. Dinner was served at 8. I sat at the family table. My parents, my older brother Marcus and his wife Jessica and her parents, my aunt and uncle, and a few other close relatives. The food was excellent, the wine was flowing, and the mood was celebratory. "A toast," my uncle announced, standing with his glass raised. "To Robert and Patricia. 35 years of love, partnership, and putting up with each other's nonsense. May you have 35 more." Everyone cheered and drank. "And speaking of partnerships," my aunt said, smiling at Jessica, "we're so proud of our Jessica starting her career at such a prestigious firm." "Hear, hear," someone called out. Jessica beamed. "Thank you, everyone. I'm just so grateful for this opportunity. It's literally my dream job." "That's wonderful, Jessica," Mom said. "You must be so excited about the move to the city." "I am. Although—" Jessica glanced at her mother, who nodded encouragingly. "I do have a small housing situation. My new place isn't ready until next month and I start work on Monday. So I'm kind of scrambling to find somewhere for just a few weeks." "Oh no," Mom said with that particular tone that meant she was about to solve a problem. "That's stressful. Hotels are so expensive." "Exactly," Jessica agreed. "I looked into it, but with my moving expenses and everything, I just can't swing $3,000 for 3 weeks of hotels." Mom and my aunt exchanged meaningful looks. Then Mom turned to me. "Maya, don't you have that little apartment downtown?" "I do," I said carefully. "How many bedrooms?" "Technically 3, but I use the other 2 for my office and storage." "Storage," Mom repeated like it was a character flaw. "Well, surely you could clear out one room for a few weeks. Let Jessica stay with you." The table had gone quiet, everyone watching. "It's not really set up for guests," I said. "Oh, come on, Maya," Marcus chimed in. "It's family. It's 3 weeks. You can't be that inflexible." "I'm not being inflexible. Jessica's starting her career," my aunt interrupted. "This is a crucial time for her. She needs support from her family." "I'm happy to support her," I said. "But my apartment isn't the right solution." "Why not?" Dad asked with an edge to his voice. "You live alone. You have extra rooms. Your cousin needs temporary help. This seems pretty straightforward." "Dad, I work from home. I need my space organized a certain way." "For 3 weeks, Maya," Mom said. "Surely you can deal with a little disruption for 3 weeks." "It's not about the disruption." Then what is it about? Marcus leaned forward. Because from where I'm sitting, it sounds like you just don't want to help family. That's not fair, I said quietly. Isn't it? Marcus pressed. Jessica needs help. You have the means to help. You're refusing. How else should we interpret that? I looked around the table. Every face reflected some version of disappointment or judgment. Even Jessica looked hurt, though I suspected it was performed for the audience. I'll think about it, I said finally. Think about it? My aunt's voice rose. Maya, she starts work on Monday. She needs somewhere to stay tonight if possible. There's nothing to think about. I need to check a few things first. Check what? Mom interrupted. Whether you can spare a room for your cousin? The pressure was suffocating. I could feel the walls closing in, the family consensus building against me. This was how it always went. They decided what I should do, then made me the villain for hesitating. Fine, I said. Jessica can stay with me. Temporarily. Oh, thank you, thank you. Jessica jumped up and hugged me. You're literally saving my life. 3 weeks, I said firmly. That's all. Of course. Just until my place is ready. I'll be the perfect roommate, I promise. Mom smiled, satisfied. See? That wasn't so hard. Family helps family, Maya. You should remember that. The rest of dinner passed in pleasant conversation. Nobody seemed to notice that I barely spoke. Plans were made for Jessica to come by tomorrow with her things. My aunt kept thanking me. Marcus made a joke about me finally having to be social with another human being. I excused myself after the cake was served, heading to the restroom. I locked myself in a stall and pulled out my phone, scrolling through my messages until I found the right number. Building services, I typed. Please prepare Unit 804 for a temporary guest. 3-week stay beginning tomorrow. Standard guest setup. The response came back immediately. Confirmed, Miss Torres. Will 804 work, or would you prefer a different unit? 804 is fine. Thank you. I put my phone away and returned to the party, my mind already working through the logistics. Nobody at that table knew that I didn't just have an apartment downtown. I owned the building. All 48 units. I'd bought it 2 years ago for $32 million, renovated it, and turned it into one of the most sought-after residential properties in the city. I lived in the penthouse. Unit 4801. The entire 48th floor. 4,000 square feet of space I'd designed myself. Floor-to-ceiling windows, custom finishes, smart home technology throughout. My personal sanctuary. Unit 804 was a nice one-bedroom on the 8th floor. Perfectly adequate for a temporary stay. And crucially nowhere near my actual home. When I returned to the table, Jessica was showing everyone photos on her phone. This is the studio I'm moving into. Isn't it cute? It's $2,400 a month, which is kind of a lot, but the location is perfect. Very nice, Mom said. Though I still think you could have found something cheaper outside the city. But then I'd have to commute. The whole point is being close to work. Jessica turned to me. Maya, where exactly is your building? Is it far from Dawson and Associates? About a 10-minute walk, I said. Perfect. This is going to be so great. We can be like real roommates. Movie nights, cooking together. I work unusual hours, I interrupted gently. I'll probably be pretty busy. Oh right. Your consulting thing. Jessica waved her hand dismissively. Mom mentioned you do something with computers? Data security architecture, I said. For financial institutions. Cool. She was already looking at something else on her phone. Marcus caught my eye and smiled. Good for you, Maya. Doing the family thing. I know it's not your natural inclination. I didn't respond. The party wound down around 11. People hugged my parents, congratulated them again, drifted out to their cars. Jessica cornered me by the exit. So I was thinking, could I come by tomorrow around noon? That gives me time to pack up the last of my stuff from my parents' place. Noon is fine, I said. Great. Text me the address. I will. She hugged me again. Thank you so much, Maya. Seriously. You have no idea how much this helps. I drove home in my sensible 5-year-old Accord, the car my family loved to comment on. When are you getting something newer? Don't you want something with more features? That's a lot of miles for a car. They didn't understand that I preferred practical over flashy. That I'd rather invest my money than spend it on depreciating assets. That my net worth had crossed $50 million last quarter, and I still drove this car because it worked perfectly fine. I pulled into the private underground garage of the Sterling, my building, and took the elevator to the 48th floor. The doors opened directly into my penthouse. No shared hallways up here. Just my space. My phone rang as I was changing out of my dress. Building security. Evening, Ms. Torres. Just confirming, you've authorized a temporary guest starting tomorrow. Correct. My cousin Jessica Chin. She'll be staying in Unit 804 for approximately 3 weeks. Understood. Should we issue her a standard guest key or would you prefer limited access? Standard guest key for 804 only. No access to the penthouse level, the gym, the rooftop terrace, or any common areas after 10 p.m. Noted. Anything else? Yes. She doesn't know I own the building. If she asks about the management or ownership, redirect to the property management company. Pause. Of course, Ms. Torres. We'll maintain discretion. Thank you, David. The next morning I was up at 6 as always. Coffee, emails, a video call with a client in London. By the time noon rolled around, I'd already put in a full workday. My phone buzzed. Jessica, I'm here. At the address you sent. But this is a super fancy building? Are you sure this is right? I smiled and texted back. That's right. Take the elevator to the 8th floor. Unit 804. 8th floor? Maya, how did you afford this place? See you in a few minutes. I took the private elevator down to the lobby, then walked over to the main elevators. Jessica was standing there with 3 large suitcases, staring at the marble floors and the modern art installation in the lobby. Maya. She rushed over. This building is insane. How can you afford to live here? I manage, I said. Come on, let's get you settled. We rode up to the 8th floor. I led her to Unit 804 and unlocked it with my master key. Wait, Jessica said as we stepped inside. You have a key that opens the door? I'm giving you the actual key, I said, handing her a key card. This was just to get us in. The apartment was perfect. The building services team had prepared it beautifully. Fresh linens, stocked kitchen basics, even flowers on the counter. Oh my God, Jessica breathed, walking through the space. Maya, this is gorgeous. This is your apartment. This is where you'll be staying, I said, not quite answering the question. But where will you be? I have my own space. Different floor. He spun around. Wait, you have 2 apartments in this building? Something like that. How? Jessica's eyes were wide. I thought you were just doing okay. Mom always says you're kind of scraping by with your freelance work. Your mom makes assumptions, I said evenly. Here's how the key works. Here's the climate control. Wi-Fi password is on the fridge. Building has a gym on the 2nd floor. Your keycard will get you in. Quiet hours start at 10 p.m. Any questions? I mean, yes, like a million questions about how you can afford this. I have to get back to work, I interrupted. Text me if you need anything. Welcome to the building. I left before she could press further. Over the next week, Jessica settled in. She started her job, came home exhausted each night, occasionally texted me about building amenities or neighborhood recommendations. I responded when necessary but kept my distance. Then on day 8 my mother called. Maya, I had lunch with your aunt yesterday. That's nice. She said Jessica loves the apartment you're letting her stay in. She also said it's in a very expensive building. It's a nice building, I agreed. How nice? Nice enough. Maya. Mom's voice took on that tone. Your aunt looked up the building. Apartments there rent for $3,000 to $4,000 a month. How are you affording that on a consultant's salary? I do well enough. Well enough to live in luxury housing? Maya, are you in debt? Are you living beyond your means? I closed my eyes. Mom, I'm not in debt. Then how? I have to go. Client call. I hung up and stared at my ceiling. This was exactly what I'd been avoiding. The questions, the judgments, the assumptions that if I had money I must be doing something wrong. 3 days later, the situation escalated. I was in my office, the actual office on the 47th floor that I used for client meetings, when David from security called. Ms. Torres, we have a situation. Your mother and aunt are in the lobby. They're demanding to see you and asking questions about the building ownership. I sighed. I'll be right down. When I stepped off the elevator, Mom and Aunt Linda were at the security desk, looking agitated. David stood behind it, professional and impassive. There you are. Mom said when she saw me. Maya, what is going on? What do you mean? We came to visit Jessica and see this apartment you're supposedly living in. But the security here says you don't live on the 8th floor. I don't. So where do you live? Different floor. Which floor? Does it matter? Yes, it matters. Aunt Linda interjected. Jessica says this building is incredibly expensive. She says the doormen wear suits, there's 24-hour concierge private parking. Maya, how can you possibly afford to live here? I manage my money well. That's not an answer, Mom said. Young woman, we are not leaving until you explain yourself. Are you in debt? Are you doing something illegal? Where is this money coming from? People in the lobby were starting to stare. David caught my eye, questioning. I gave him a small nod. Ladies, David said, his voice firm but polite, if you could please lower your voices. This is a private residence. We'll lower our voices when we get some answers, Aunt Linda snapped. I'll provide answers, I said quietly. But not here. Mom, Aunt Linda, come with me. I led them to the elevator. Mom and Aunt Linda followed, still demanding explanations. I pressed the button for the 48th floor. The 48th floor? Mom said. Maya, this building is only... She stopped as the number continued climbing. Wait, is there actually a 48th floor? The elevator doors opened directly into my penthouse. Both women stepped out and froze. The space was stunning. I could acknowledge that objectively. The entire city spread out before us through floor-to-ceiling windows. The open-concept living area with its custom furniture and art collection. The gourmet kitchen with professional-grade appliances. The subtle luxury of every finish and fixture. What is this? Mom whispered. This is where I live, I said simply. You live here? In a penthouse? Yes. How? Aunt Linda's voice was barely audible. I own the building, I said. I bought it 2 years ago. I live here. Jessica is staying in one of my units 8 floors below. I've been managing this property, along with 3 others, as my primary business for the past 4 years. The silence was absolute. You own this building, Mom repeated slowly. This entire building. All 48 units, yes. But you're a consultant. I'm a commercial property developer and investor. Data security was my previous career. I transitioned 4 years ago. How much did this building cost? Aunt Linda asked. $32 million. Plus another $6 million in renovations. Mom sat down heavily on my couch. $32 million. Yes. You have $32 million? I had $32 million 2 years ago. My portfolio has grown since then. How much has it grown? Aunt Linda pressed. Enough that I don't worry about money anymore. Mom looked up at me, her face pale. When were you going to tell us? I wasn't planning to, I admitted. I didn't think it was necessary. Not necessary? Mom's voice rose. Maya, you're a multimillionaire. Yes. And you let us think you were scraping by. You let us worry about you. You worried about me because you chose to, I said calmly. I never said I was struggling. You assumed it based on how I live. My car, my clothes, the fact that I don't flaunt my wealth. This is insane, Aunt Linda said. Jessica is staying in your building? In one of your apartments? Yes. Unit 804 is one of my rentals. It's currently vacant, so Jessica using it for 3 weeks costs me nothing. But you let us pressure you at the anniversary party, Mom said. You let us guilt you into. She stopped. You were never going to let her stay in your personal apartment, were you? No. You planned this from the beginning. I planned to help Jessica while maintaining my privacy, yes. Mom stood up, pacing. I don't understand. Why hide this? Why not just tell us you're successful? Because of this, I gestured at both of them. This reaction. The moment people know you have money, everything changes. They treat you differently. They expect things. They make assumptions about who you are and what you owe them. We're family, Aunt Linda protested. Exactly, I said. Your family. which means you felt entitled to give away my apartment keys at a party without asking me first. You pressured me, guilt-tripped me, made me feel like I was being selfish for hesitating. You didn't respect my boundaries because you thought I had no power to refuse. That's not what we were doing, Mom said weakly. Wasn't it? You told me Jessica was starting her career and I was just surviving. Dad said she needed support from family. Marcus said I was being inflexible. None of you considered that maybe I had legitimate reasons for hesitation. You just decided I should help and bulldozed over my concerns. We didn't know, Aunt Linda started. You didn't ask, I interrupted. In 4 years of me building this business, not one person in our family asked what I actually do. You all assumed I was struggling and stopped there. When Jessica asked where I lived, she assumed this building was beyond my means. When you looked it up, Mom, your first thought was that I must be in debt or doing something illegal. None of you considered that maybe I'm just successful. Mom's eyes filled with tears. I'm your mother. I should have known. You could have known if you'd asked. But you were more comfortable with your narrative about me being the struggling artist with a computer hobby. That's not fair, Aunt Linda said. You deliberately hid your success from us. I lived my life quietly. There's a difference. I walked to the window looking out at the city. I don't drive a fancy car because I don't need one. I don't wear designer clothes because I don't care about labels. I don't broadcast my net worth because I don't need external validation. But you all interpreted that as failure. As someone to be pitted and managed. So you let us look foolish, Mom said bitterly. At the party when we gave away your keys. You gave away keys to a property I own. Jessica is staying in my building. Nobody looked foolish except maybe me for not standing up for myself sooner. Does Jessica know? Aunt Linda asked suddenly. That you own the building? Not yet. Though she's probably figured out something is odd about the setup. You have to tell her. Why? Because she's family. Because she deserves to know. Does she? I asked. Or will it just make her uncomfortable? Will she feel obligated, embarrassed, pressured to leave early? I gave her a place to stay. The details of ownership don't change that. Mom walked over to stand beside me at the window. I feel like I don't know you at all. You know me, Mom. You just didn't know this part of me. Because you never looked for it. I'm sorry, she said quietly. For assuming. For not asking. For making you feel like you had to hide. I didn't hide because I felt like I had to. I hid because I wanted to. Because my success is mine and I get to decide who I share it with and how. Are you going to tell your brother? Aunt Linda asked. Your father. Eventually, maybe. When I feel like it. On my terms. I turned to face them both. Here's what's going to happen. Jessica is going to finish her 3 weeks here. She's not going to know I own the building unless you tell her, which I'm asking you not to do. After she moves out, you and I looked at Mom, are going to have a longer conversation about boundaries and respect and how we communicate going forward. And us? Aunt Linda asked. Do I just pretend I don't know? That's up to you. But if you tell people, if you turn this into family gossip or drama, I will be very disappointed. That sounds like a threat. It's a boundary, I corrected. I'm a private person. I don't want my finances to be family discussion topics. I'm trusting you both to respect that. Mom nodded slowly. I can do that. Aunt Linda looked less certain but eventually nodded too. Fine. But Maya, this is a lot to process. I know. Take your time. They left shortly after, both looking shell-shocked. I watched from my window as they exited the building 48 floors below, 2 small figures on the sidewalk, probably still trying to understand how their assumptions had been so completely wrong. My phone buzzed. Jessica, did my mom and your mom just leave your building? They looked upset. I texted back, family stuff. All fine. How's the new job? Exhausting but good. Thank you again for letting me stay here. I literally don't know what I would have done without this place. You're welcome. 3 weeks later, Jessica moved out on schedule. She left a thank you note and a bottle of wine, neither of which mentioned the building ownership. Either she never figured it out or she decided not to ask. Mom and I had that longer conversation. It was difficult and emotional and necessary. We established new boundaries. She started asking about my work. Really asking with genuine curiosity instead of pitying concern. She stopped commenting on my car. Dad and Marcus eventually found out, of course. Family secrets don't keep forever. Their reactions were similar. Shock followed by embarrassment at their assumptions followed by a tentative new respect. But the real change wasn't in how they saw me. It was in how I saw myself. I'd spent years allowing my family to underestimate me because it was easier than confronting their assumptions. I'd let them give away my keys metaphorically and literally because I didn't want to make waves. But standing in my penthouse, looking at my mother's shocked face, I realized something important. My success didn't need their validation. My choices didn't need their understanding. My life didn't need their approval. I was exactly who I wanted to be. And if they couldn't see that, couldn't respect that, couldn't honor the boundaries I set, that was their limitation, not mine. The Sterling continued to thrive. My portfolio grew. I bought a fourth building, then a fifth. I lived quietly in my penthouse, drove my practical car, wore my simple clothes, and built an empire that nobody expected. And when family gatherings came around, I showed up as myself. Not the struggling consultant they'd imagined, not the flashy millionaire they now knew, but simply Maya. Successful on my own terms. Living by my own rules. Owning not just buildings but my own story. That anniversary party had been a turning point. Not because my family gave away my keys but because I finally took them back. All of them. Maybe.